Hey, this is Gilder from Presonus, and today we're going to talk about 2 vocal mic placement mistakes. Okay, rather than doing the YouTuber thing and not telling you what the mistakes are for the next 12 minutes, I'm going to tell you right up front. The first mistake is having the microphone too close. The second mistake is having the microphone too far away. But what makes these problematic? Let's dive into them one at a time. First of all, let's talk about having the microphone too far. You've probably seen those pictures of people like Frank Sinatra singing from 4 feet away from the microphone. And you might think, okay, if it worked for Sinatra, it's good enough for me. Well, 2 things. You're probably not recording the same style of music as Sinatra, and you're probably not in a multi-million-dollar recording facility. Style of music. If you're doing music that you would qualify as remotely close to modern music, the sound of a modern vocal is the sound of a singer pretty close to the microphone. It's got this in-your-face quality to it. Now, there are certainly exceptions, and you should try some things out, but if you're going for modern music, it's going to be hard to get there without putting the vocalist fairly close to the microphone. Secondly, if you're like me, you're recording in a less than perfect recording environment. I'm in a room above my garage. I've got acoustic treatment. You can see the panels back there. There's 2 panels here and a bunch of panels back here as bass traps. And there's carpet. So it sounds okay, but it's still not a beautiful sounding room by any stretch of the imagination. If I were to record from 3 or 4 feet away from the microphone would pick up as much room as it would my voice. And all you would hear in the vocal track is the sound of the room. An easy way to combat that is to get closer to the microphone so that the sound of my voice is much louder than the sound of the room that the microphone's picking up. Okay, so let's talk about too close. If being too far from the microphone has its issues, then it makes sense that we would want to be as close as possible to the mic, right? Well, no, and I'll tell you why. First of all, it's not for the reason you might think. It's not because of proximity effect. Yes, as you get closer to the microphone, it's going to have more of a bass response, and that can sometimes cause things to sound boomy, but that's fairly easy to fix with something like a high-pass filter. No, the real reason why you don't want to get as close to the microphone as possible is science. Bear with me. So there's this law called the inverse square law, and it says when you double the distance of a microphone to the source, the volume drops by 6 decibels. Now, you may recall that a 6 decibel change in volume is the equivalent of doubling the volume or cutting the volume in half as far as how we perceive it. Okay, so bear with me. This microphone here, it has a little capsule inside of this bigger grate thing on the outside. Let's say I sing with my lips touching the grate. That means my mouth is about maybe a ½ inch away from the capsule itself. And because I'm a human, I don't stay perfectly still when I sing. I might pull back a little bit. I might bob my head. I might do all these things. Not a big deal, but when you're that close to the microphone, what happens? Well, let's say here's the capsule and here's my lips. As I'm bobbing my head, I'm moving from here to here. That's not a huge distance, but we're going from a ½ inch to like 3 inches away. That's doubling the distance twice. Doubling it from a ½ inch to an inch is 1 double, and then from 1 inch to 2 inches is 2 doubles. So we actually more than doubled it. That's more than a 12 dB difference in volume just from me going like this. Do you understand the problem? Imagine trying to mix that vocal where every other word of a phrase is a difference of 12 dB of volume. You'll end up having to do a crap load of automation or use overly aggressive compression to tame those volume differences, and it's just not going to be worth it. However, if I back up to, say, 4 to 5 inches away from the microphone, what does math tell us? If I'm 5 inches away from the mic, I've got to go all the way to 10 inches away before I cut the volume in half. And I've got to come all the way into 2.5 inches to double the volume. So if I'm doing the same thing, all things being equal, if I'm bobbing my head, it's just a difference of a couple of inches, which is just a couple of decibels versus a huge doubling and halving of volume as I move around. That is so nerdy, and I'm going to push my glasses up for all my nerd friends out there. But that's the big reason why you don't want to get super close. You'll end up with a super inconsistent and ever-changing volume. And it's true for vocals, it's true for acoustic guitars, it's true for really anytime you're miking up a living being, you're going to want to keep that in mind. Now, if it's a guitar amp or a piano that doesn't move, then you can get as close as you want because it's not going to move around. But once you that blood starts pumping, that heart starts beating, you just can't keep us still. So give us a little room to breathe, a room to move, and you'll get a lot more consistent sounding vocal. So for me, I found, and you're going to have to play around with this in your setup with your microphones, with your singers, but for me, when I'm singing, this is about right for me. I don't know if you can tell from that angle, but I'm about this far away from the microphone. I can see what I need to see when I'm reading lyrics or things like that. I can put a pop filter in between if I need to, and I can move around and maintain a consistent vocal level. When I have to get right up and eat the microphone, I don't get much of an improvement in sound quality, and then I get all those volume differences that we talked about. Speaking of vocal production, I'm recording this video the day before doing a Sphere exclusive live stream for Presonus Sphere members. That's happening tomorrow night or tomorrow during the day, where I'm going to go through my vocal production process from where we started right now, mic placement. We're going to go into recording, punching in, recording takes, comping, editing, tuning, and mixing vocals, all in an hour slot. And I'm going to do it all live on the fly. If you're not a Presonus Sphere member, you can join and you'll have access to that. Whether you join tomorrow or 3 years from now, that video will be available for you to see how I go through the vocal production process. Maybe you can pick up a few tips that will help you as well. All right, that's it from me. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.
String. Meow.
Whoop.